Hi friends, today we're going to work on a really fun paper craft. You can get these 6 by 8 inch notepads in a 2-pack at the Dollar Tree. So 2 for the $1.25. They may have gone up because Dollar Tree is raising their prices now. So I'm not sure if they've went up to the $1.50 or just what, but these are really cool notepads and there's 2 of them. So we're going to make a folio for those, for that. And here's the one that I made. It's got some waterfall pages for calendars, and the calendar, I have an Etsy listing that is a digital tutorial. So everything that you will see today, there is a digital tutorial that says the same thing, and the link to that is in below this video. And it has all the images, it has quote cards, it has folio toppers with different sayings and different colored flowers, and the calendars, the blank calendars that you can print off each year. And if you don't want to do calendars on your waterfall pages, you could put the same size of paper, decorative paper, and you could put photos here, you could put notes, you could put pockets, all kinds of different things. But these are the 12 months, and you just write in your own dates. And then here's a pocket, and here's the notepad, and it's got a little slider loop there. And the one thing that I will do differently is the cardstock I used wasn't double-sided, so it was white on the back, and so I didn't really plan for that. So I don't really like the white in the middle, but that's okay, it's still fine. But in the tutorial we will do something different for that. And if you use double-sided cardstock, which most of the time we do, we just use some, double-sided cardstock, then it's not a worry, but you could still do that to reinforce this. So that is this folio, and it says believe you can and you're halfway there. The one we'll be using today is strive not to be a success, but rather to be of value. And I really like that. And then there's all different kinds of little quote cards you can use or not, depending on if you want to or not. I'm going to set the notepad aside and this aside, and let's get started. So I'm going to be using my Tombow liquid glue, and I'm getting a little low on that, so I hope I have enough for my project. So for starters, you need 2 pieces of your cardstock, and so for this one I am using the just regular cardstock, and these need to be 7 1/4 inches by 9 1/2 inch. And then you score them. I've already scored mine, but 1/2 inch all the way around. And so let's get folding those score lines. Okay, so I've got all those score lines folded on both pieces, and I forgot to show you in this one that it also comes with a bookmark, and that you can use ribbon or twine or a tassel to make these bookmarks. So there's several different bookmark quotes that come with the digital listing as well. Okay, so now that you've got these folded, I need to find my scissors. Here we are. The top left and the bottom left little square pieces need to be cut out. On both pieces. Now the only thing with this, if you use patterned cardstock like I did on my first one, or no, I didn't on that one. If you have a pattern that matters up and down, then you will want to do an opposite, because what we're going to do is we're going to make these together. So if you had a pattern that goes up and down, this would make one of them go up wrong side up. So you want to be careful and think about, plan ahead up with that. So I'm going to use a little bit of double-sided tape, Oh, but before I do that, let's miter the corners, the other two corners. So you just kind of go close to that corner, not exactly to it, because you want a little bit to cover you just want the corners to line up. So especially if you're covering chipboard or something like that. And also on the piece that you cut out the square, so on this will be the center binding. You want to trim that, just taper it a little bit. So when you fold it in, it doesn't get in the way. So both of these just need to be clipped ever so slightly. There we go. Now, so on one, and I like to use both liquid glue and double-sided tape. Just gives it a little extra hold. And then you want to carefully put this one on to the seam. And I was a little careless putting that glue all over. I should have kept it just inside there, but that's okay. We will definitely cover that up. And this is going to be our folio cover. So you just want to make sure that's sealed really well. Okay, so another piece we have, and I believe, yeah, I cut this too long, but we will work on that in a minute. So now what you want to do is you want to fold up all of these flaps. And you want to taper these corners as well. Yeah, I trimmed the wrong ones. Darn it, that's going to make a difference. But thank goodness this piece will fix that. Okay, I apologize. It's these flaps that you want to cut and not on the inseam piece, the spine piece. I hope that makes sense. And everything is correct in the digital tutorial. If you like to print your tutorials off and just have them at your that's what I like to do. I like to have them right here at my desk, and I can just see everything that I'm creating. And it has exact measurements, detailed instructions, lots of pictures along the way. And you can just use your glue if you want, but like I said, I do kind of, on stuff like this, I like to just little extra reinforcement. So I use both. And we'll get all those taped up. All right, so we've got the flaps all glued and taped up. I ran out of double-sided tape, so I've got this kind, but this is a little wide. Okay, so then you take your spine piece, which is 2 inches by 8 1/4 inches, and you score it 3/4 inches in this way and 3/4 inches this way, and it leaves the 1/2 inch that will go along right here. So fold these and burnish those edges really well. Use a bone folder, or I get these at Dollar Tree. They work really well. And we want to glue that in really well in the center. And I don't know what I was thinking, we glued these down as well, but I mainly wanted to make sure that they would fold right with the seams that are in there. Okay, so now I'm gonna glue these down. That will give it a lot of reinforcement so it won't break, tear as easily. And then also, if by chance you use cardstock that's not double-sided, so it's white on the back, you can make your inseam match. Then just refold these. Make sure this one's a little skitty wampus, but we will get it. So it reinforces it, makes it really thick, but you have to make sure it's folds on those seams that you want it to. Okay, and there's our folio cover. Now you want to adhere the papers. So I'm going to put this teal colored one on the outside, and I'm going to put these gray on the inside. And these are 6 inches by 8 1/4 inches. And I'm a messy crafter. I end up getting things all over my craft table, and that's just how I roll, I guess. And you can put some tape on this as well. I usually do. And it's easier for me to work on this side. So you just there should be roughly an 1/8 inch border of the black cardstock all the way around, even here, so it doesn't get messed up in your fold. I always use a paper towel or a napkin, Kleenex or something, just to press it all out to all the edges and all the corners. Just seems to work well for me. Then we do the same on this side. There's the inside, and then you need to decide which side you want on the front. Where you can see this, my seam is a little bit showing there, not the seam, but the little tab, so I'm going to trim that just ever so slightly so it doesn't stick up there. And I kind of want that on the back. So you need to plan ahead, because again, if you have patterns cardstock, that would matter, but with my just plain black, it doesn't matter. So this is going to be my front. I'm doing darker, richer colors. So these are the same size as the inside. Oh, and for some reason I have cut these wrong. Darn it. Okay, I got them trimmed up. I don't know why, but I cut them a 1/2 inch too long. I cut all my pieces in preparation for this today, but I cut them last night. Must have been too late for me to be up. Okay, so it's starting to come to life. Now let's work on the waterfall pages. So you need 6 of these cut at 5.5 inches across by 4.5 inches, and then you cut, or not cut, score each one down a 1/2 inch. And I've already done the scoring, so let's just get them burnished really well. Okay, I've got them all folded and burnished, and then I also tapered the edges just slightly. And then you can decide if you want to put decorative paper on the tops of these, or if you want to get the calendar printed off and cut those out. I am going to put the calendar on these. The calendar measures 5.25 inches by 3.75 inches, and so that is the same size you would want your decorative paper if you're going to do that instead. And you need 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we will set that aside. Now let's take your pocket pieces. These measure, the cardstock measures 5.75 by 3.75, and this decorative top piece measures 5.5 by 3.5. And let me try and remember what I did on my pocket. So you want to measure up 1.5 inches up from your bottom right corner. And just put a marking right there. And then you want to draw a line from your very top corner to that dot, that line you just made. And on this piece, you're going to do the same thing, except measure up 1.25 inches instead of the 1.5. And again, make a line from the very top left corner to your dot you made, and then cut both of those out. And make sure you cut on the inside of that line so your line doesn't show. Unless, of course, you want it to show. Same on this one, cut that out. A little harder to see on my black cardstock to get the light just right. Okay, now this should fit on just right with the black border all the way around. So glue this on. Okay, and just slightly curve it, just so when it's in your booklet, it's easier to tuck something down in there. And this is going to go right here. So you'll want to put it, line it up with the both edges. So you just want to put a glue on the back of the left and the bottom only. And you want to get your glue line as close to the edge as you can. And I'm a little worried. I am running out of glue. This is my last bottle. I will be making an Amazon order today. And then you want to line it up with the edge of your booklet, or just barely inside. And then push out from the center out. Don't go into your pocket. And then any excess glue will come out. You don't want it to go inside your pocket, and obviously that would plug up your pocket. Okay, so like that. And then we have Okay, this flap is 6 inches by 8 3/4 inches. And you're gonna want to cut from the right top corner to the left bottom corner. If you want, you can go up just a little bit, and that would work. In fact, maybe I will do that, just up slightly. And then cut that out. And this is going to be the flap that holds the back cover of the notebook, so it holds your notebook inside the folio. And again, I'm just cutting just ever so slightly inside that line because I don't want the ink of the pen to show. I could have done it in a light pencil or something. That would have been smarter to do. In fact, I got a little bit of ink right there that I don't want to show. Okay, so this is going to go right here, and you'll want to scoot it even in closer to the edge than what this paper is, because you want the notebook to go in as far as it can so it doesn't block up this fold. So we are going to glue the bottom and the right side only. And again, you want your line as close to the edge as you can. Just a little thin line right on the edge. And right before, press from center out to edges, and then any excess glue will come out the edge. And this is where your notebook will slide in, like that, but we're not going to do that quite yet. Okay, I'm going to work on the calendar and the waterfall pages. Okay, so get your calendars all printed and cut out, and obviously make sure they're in order, and start with your first month, January. And this should fit right in this spot with about an 1/8 inch border of cardstock all the way around. With the Tombow liquid glue, you have just a couple seconds to move your paper around. Okay, and then very important, so you're looking at your January, and it's going to be a page that flips up, so you want to put your February on like that. Okay, so get all 6 of these on, the 12 months on the 6 pages. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put these along here like we did on this one. And so we'll want to put it just at the top with about an 1/8 inch at the top. So you start with your first one, and we'll put glue on that flap. And you just glue that straight in there. Press down on that. Make sure if any glue comes out that it's all wiped off, because you don't want it sticking to your next page. And then you do the same thing with the next page. And you put it right up against this one. and make sure they're still going down straight. And you repeat that process with all 6 pages. Got them in, and I think it looks so cute. And those will lay down as you use your book more. So you've got a pocket underneath for small notes or something, or a tag. So now you grab your notepad, and the notepad cover decorative paper is, let me see, 7 1/4 inches by 8 inches. And what I did, and I loved this paper, I think it's so pretty, but it's thick and it's really hard to work with sometimes. So it doesn't bend as easy as regular scrapbook paper. So anyway, you're gonna wanna glue that all on, and I'm gonna put some double-sided tape on as well. I wish I still had my runner. Use the last of that. Those are so handy to have, to use. This will just give it a little bit more reinforcement as well. Pull up that backing. Sometimes it's hard to separate the sticky tape from the backing. I'm almost out of glue, but I'm gonna make it work for this project. I can feel it. So all around the edges, so you can get the corners and the edges adhered down so those don't bend up. Adhere that down really, really well. And you might want to measure the notepads because they're not all exactly the same. You can see that that's just a tiny bit bigger. So if I need to trim it, I will, but otherwise I'm just gonna not even worry about it. So then you want to kind of go like this and just make, after it's, you know, it's adhered on there really well. Kind of bend it and help it along, help it bend around. You can also score it too if you want to do that first, and then fold it in the back. And so you're gonna really, I'm gonna use another piece of this, just down the middle. And I think the glue would have been fine, but since I'm just getting low on glue, I want to make sure I have enough adherence here. So you'll want to put a lot of glue down where it's going to be on the seam, the spine of the book. And then of course, all over this flap. Fold it up and over. And just really make sure it's adhered down before you let it up. And there's your notepad. Now what I think I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to use my rubber stamps. I've got all kinds of different little sayings. I've got some postage stamps, some old-fashioned writing that I might just put on a few random pages on the top right corner or the bottom right corner, I'm thinking. But for now, here's that. So This should slide in and should fit hopefully perfectly. And you may have to help it along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get my bone folder and just push down in that corner so it for sure has a spot to go. Gotta stay on camera, sorry about that. I don't want to break that glue seam where I've got it glued, but I want to make sure it goes down there. And you might have to just really help it along so it gets in there enough. And so it will close. Now, so for the topper, you can put it on like this. If you can see I got to get my book in there a little bit more, and I'll work on that in a little bit. Okay, so now in fact, I'm going to take it out while I'm working on this part. So we needed a piece of cardstock to go behind it if that's what you want to do. And I thought I had everything cut, but that I do not. So this measures 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. So we need a piece of cardstock 4 inches by 6 inches. So I'll get that cut. Okay, so I got a piece of that cut. Now we just need to glue this topper. And again, you should have about an 1/8 inch border all the way around. And then there should be about an inch on each side. And you just kind of, I just like to eyeball it, but if you're not into that, then you can, measure it and set it exactly in the center. You could even do it at a slant or off-centered if you wanted to. No rules, right? We make our own creations. Okay. So once you set it down, you have a few seconds before the glue sets. So you have just a few seconds to move it and straighten it. So I always have to look at it straight on, and I hope for the best here. And I think that looks pretty good. I like it. Now, if you have trouble getting your book in, another thing you could do is cut maybe an 1/8 inch off the edge of the back cover. And I think that's what I'm going to have to do, because I must, even though I put the thin line of glue right on the, as close to the edge as I could get it of my pocket, of the flap, it must be in there too much. So let's try this. And I can see what the problem is. Let me show you. On the back of this cover, it doesn't want to separate from the pages very far. So I might have to help that along. It's really glued into the page there. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, perfect. I'm glad I figured that out. So it wasn't anything I did wrong. It was the book itself. Whoever made it actually put too much glue inside that last page and the cover. So we got it. So you can leave this like this. You can put little quote cards on it with some cardstock behind it if you want. I'm undecided. I might just, let's see. I think I'll just put one. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. So I could put 2 on there. So these are, let's just get some cardstock here, and we will just, I think I like this one better. I'm just going to put 1. this is small enough that I think I can just eyeball this and cut it. So I'm going to put roughly about an 1/8 inch of cardstock all around this as well. Make sure it's straight. And now I'm just going to eyeball it and hope I cut it straight. There, perfect. And I may put another one on here later if I decide to. Okay, now let's work on our bookmark. So the one I chose is Live, Love, Laugh, and it has the matching color flower. And I'm going to put it on these 2 pieces of paper. So these cut out to be 2 inches by, 5 1/4. So then the next layer of paper, sorry, I got this on there slightly wrong. There we go. Ooh, saved it. So then the next piece of paper, this gray one, needs to be 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/2. And then this next, the bottom one needs to be 2 1/2 by 5 3/4. So just 1/4 inch bigger on both the width and the length. That's usually how I layer everything. And then it makes an 1/8 inch border all the way around. And you can round the corners if you want before you do this. You'd want to round them each piece individually, but I kind of like the square look. Now you just need to get a hole punch and go in the center, just down a little ways. And then if you have a tassel, great. If not, use some matching ribbon or twine, whatever you've got on hand, whatever you want to use. So you take your loop, push it in the front, bring it up, and then you bring the rest of your tassel through that loop. And there you go. And that is it. You can keep it in your notepad as a place marker, use it for a book that you're reading, use it as just to make this really pretty, and it closes like that. You could put a pen or pencil on there, and this looks pretty hanging over the side. Lots of different things you could do with these. These are very versatile and very useful, and you can use these year after year. These should hold up for a long time. Just print new calendars each year. You could glue the calendar over this one, or what I would do, I think I would just peel this off, because I just glued around the edge. So I think I would glue or take this off and then put new ones on each year. But very handy to have at your desktop, or to use for your scripture notes, or quotes your kids say, your grandkids say, a journal, whatever you wanted to use it for. And I think it turned out so pretty and so fun. So that is it for this project. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your support. Please like and subscribe to my channel, and you have a whimsical day. Thank you.